another sunset video. Today I'll be moving some black currant bushes around, and I wanted to make a quick video about it. So I have shown you in the past that one of the design ideas for the orchard is to have the southern border understory currant bushes, and we have started a few years ago planting out black currants and red currants, which we propagated from cuttings, and planting them out between the trees. Those two trees are about 3 meters apart, and I know that this seems crowded, but the idea is to keep everything more close together, so we can have more synergies forming. And also, that's not such a hard thing to do if you're okay with pruning trees. Walking down, we are moving towards the youngest bushes. Those two red currant ones were planted last fall, so they have now settled, and they put out new growth. Those stems are the newest additions, so that means that they have well established roots, and they're producing new stems. They have beautiful autumn foliage, golden yellow. And here now I'm preparing 2 more spots for planting more currant bushes. Those two would be for white currant, and then golden or orange currant bushes. I have the white ones already propagated, 5 or 6 of those, and the ones that will be planted here will go in the ground next fall, but this is just the starting phase. So what I've done to prepare this spot is, in mid to late August, I used the digging fork to dig the sod up, because we have a very robust meadow plant here. The sod is very thick, usually 20 centimeters deep, so I dug that up and turned it upside down, and then I covered that with some maybe 3 or 4 loads of the grass. It's not just grass, it's mainly clover, to be honest, but there's also some grasses and flowering plants here. When we loaned a lawnmower from a friend, my main idea was to be able to collect a few dozen loads of the clippings, which I usually leave on the ground, to be incorporated back into the soil. Got a surprise visit by the toddler. So where was I? Okay, so we got this Husqvarna lawnmower, so I collected maybe 20 loads of the clippings from here in the orchard. It's a mix of meadow plants, and I used some for the raised beds. We made a new raised bed, and it was mixed with soil, so it induces very rapid population by worms and other primary decomposers. And then I piled a few loads here on top of the overturned sod, so it kind of blended together. There is very much a live worm population. I smoothed this out today, removed some pieces of the sod which were not yet completely rotten and compost it, and I will let those dry out, and then you can add it to the compost safely. So the main idea or the main objective was achieved. I have a sod-free piece 1 meter by 50 centimeters, maybe a bit larger. And now usually what I did for the other bushes, I put down landscaping fabric, or I'm not sure how actually call that in English, but it's a water permeable, like a membrane. This one is, it does not allow weeds to grow through it, but it allows water to go through it. I generally dislike using plastic in the garden, but those bushes were planted rather small, and as our meadow is very robust and you could say even aggressive, I was worried about too much competition. So the idea is to eliminate weeds for a couple of years, and then after the currant bushes are settled, I will cut and remove those plastic mulches, and I will replace that with probably wood chips, now that we have a small wood chipper. You can see here the action of the neighbor's chicken, which again come through the fence and scratch everything around. I don't mind that, but I'm generally happy with the mulch. I try to keep it covered just for aesthetic reasons, and it's very interesting that I have to top up the mulch, usually straw, at least 2 times per season. So that means that soil life is bringing that inside the soil. And by the way, in the Permaculture Orchard movie, Stefan Sobkowiak, he uses similar plastic mulch, and he talks about the same process happening, where soil life is coming through the holes which were made for the bushes, and it's dragging nutrients in, and that actually concentrates nutrients closer to the roots and the stems of the bushes, so all the better. But I have a suspicion that maybe this plastic mulch does not allow enough aeration, or I don't know, but at one point last year I had to lift the edges of the other one up here, and I found out that the soil under the mulch was very hard, very like compacted, not really because it's not stepped on, but it was very hard because our soil is natural, very dense clay. So it was a bit better around the stems, but all around it was very hard and compacted. So I did a little experiment, which was to dig a small piece of the sod, just 1 shovel by 1 shovel, remove the sod, keep that soil mulched without planting anything in it, just like a square of open soil, but mulched, and kept that for a season, last season. And it was very interesting experiment because it showed me that that piece of soil was actually better to the look, to the touch. It was more moist, it was more aerated, more crumbly, and there was more soil life in it as compared to under the plastic mulch. So now what I'll be doing for the current 2 currants which I'll be planting is I won't be using the plastic mulch. Instead I'll be using some cardboard, and I know that this will disintegrate in a few months, but in spring I will reapply another layer of cardboard, and then keep the whole thing mulched. And then I'll compare to see next fall if this piece of soil is relatively weed free and better looking than those upwards. And if this turns out to be the case, I'll be just removing the plastic mulch from all the other bushes. So what I have prepared here are two of the white fruited currants. Those two 3-year-old rooted cuttings. The original stem, the original cutting which I rooted is this one, and all the other stems are 2 years and 1 year old. You can see that this has like 4 or 5 new stems, so it's a healthy, robust plant. This one is a little bit weaker, but still nicely developed root. You can see here where I had to chop the root because it was going down more than 40 centimeters. So besides those lateral roots, the current also drive deep roots into the soil, especially if you don't water them very frequently as I do, to make them more resilient. Also, I have about 10 liters of sieved compost, of our own compost, which I'll be applying under the roots of the plants. And then I'll be just using the soil, the cardboard, and some straw mulch on top to hold the whole thing down. And I'll be watering each of the currants with maybe 20 liters of water to allow them to better settle in their new location. So those are the holes dug out, the bushes planted in, and some compost to tuck them for the winter and the next growing season. I'll be putting the native soil now on top, and then the cardboard mulch. Okay, so I'm down here. The two bushes are planted. The mulch with cardboard showing through the straw here, a very thick layer of straw, maybe 20 centimeters, and then a couple of buckets of water each. So I hope that they will settle down nicely and they will overwinter well. And next year we'll see how they'll perform. I'll probably remove their flowers because I want them to focus on growth, and that's the best way to encourage root and shoots growth, by removing the flowers before they bloom. And that's about it. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.